Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hello, friends. Welcome to today's episode of Business Line's State of Economy podcast. We will discuss today terror group Hamas's deadly attack on Israel last Saturday, leading to Israel's devastating retaliatory attacks on Gaza and what it means for the Indian economy. India is not a big exporter of goods to Israel, but it does import a considerable amount of military equipment from the country. What happens to the trade? And what about trade diplomacy? With the Middle East now getting increasingly drawn into the matter, what is at stake for India? I have with me today Ajay Srivastava, former Indian Trade Service Officer and founder, Global Trade Research Initiative, to answer some of these questions for us. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Srivastava.
Thanks, Amiti. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So, Mr. Srivastava, please tell us how important is Israel to India as a trading partner? And what could be the economic impact of the ongoing Hamas-Israel conflict on India?
Contrary to what many of us think, Israel is not a very important trade partner for India. Let's see some numbers. India-Israel trade is just $12 billion. And this is the total of exports and imports of both goods and services. And so in terms of share, Israel's share in India's trade is just 0.75%. I mean, it's not even 1%. So it's not very significant partner. And so this conflict may have very insignificant economic impact. Let's see some more numbers. So our merchandise exports to Israel are just $8.4 billion last year. And we export just two products. They account for 80% of India's exports, diesel and cut and polished diamonds. These two account for about 80% of our exports to Israel. So I think not much impact will be there. And on the services side, we export some few $100 million worth of IT services. I hope they don't remain affected because of this. So at the current level of Israel-Hamas conflict, I don't think it will lead to substantial change in the trade profile. It may just lead to higher cost of shipping and insurance premiums, but will not impact the overall level of trade. However, things may change if conflict escalates.
Right. So you just mentioned insurance costs. So do you think that there is the possibility of that going up? And is there something that can be done about it? Can the government intervene?
So ECGC mostly decides these issues, and Israel case is not unique. Whenever they feel there is some uncertainty in any destination country, they have to build in these costs as the insurance cover cost. It will increase. Government, I don't think government may intervene, but since the trade level is very small, and mostly diamond traders will be impacted because of higher shipment, higher insurance cost, because diesel has its own competitive parameters. It may not be affected by the higher insurance cost. Only diamond trade will be impacted. It will be between diamond trade and the government how they work out if any cost sharing formula is arrived. People are waiting for a few more days to know what's really going to happen.
Yeah. So, it is being said that if the Middle East countries also get drawn into the conflict, the situation may get more complicated for India. So, we have seen that Saudi Arabia has come out with a statement which is, partly blaming Israel for the attack. So, if more countries come in, so do you think that could pose a diplomatic problem for India? And could it also have economic ramifications as far as the Middle East is concerned?
In fact, we may be knowing better after a few weeks' time whether it's a religious war or it's a political war. My guess is there is regional pressure, especially from the GCC countries, to prevent the wider conflagration of this war, especially as the UAE organizes COP28 after a few months, and there are high-profile events scheduled in Saudi Arabia. So Israel will deal with Iran in its own way. Any Israel-Iran clash will also bring in the superpowers more directly, but those things will come to know only after few weeks. Indian companies such as Adani, which have stakes in Haifa port, will be impacted. What will be the impact? We don't know. At this level of escalation, there may be no impact. But if it escalates and ports are involved, then it may be impacted. Students and Indian citizens, of course, they have to be evacuated if war escalates and looked after. And there is a defense angle. Israel is probably the third largest arms supplier to India. These figures are estimates, okay, because government doesn't release these figures. So, but arms suppliers are dime a dozen across the world. Every time a terror attack like this or of this scale happens, there are many copycat attempts around the world. So Indian intelligence will have to be very active on this alert.
Right. And do you think that the conflict could cast a shadow on the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, since, it is still, in a very nascent stage? So is there a possibility that, there could be a slowdown in scheme of things here?
So people say that current conflict may lead to derailment of Saudi-Israeli rapprochement. And that rapprochement was the basis for this economic corridor, was one of the fundamental bases. And this conflict is derailing that in a big way. But to be honest, as you said, it's pretty premature. It's on two counts. One, Israel-Saudi normalization was anyway going to be long drawn out of affairs. And there are experts saying that India will have to balance between Iran and Israel. But again, that we have been doing for years. So our major eggs today are placed in UAE basket, and which is likely to remain neutral in this region. So I say this corridor is premature. We have not invested. We have not drawn the detailed plans, how we plan to pan it out. But the very foundation is now shaking because of this conflict.
Right. And, going forward, is there anything that, Indian exporters and importers could do to deal with the uncertainty that lies ahead?
So since there's not much exports, just $8.2 billion of merchandise exports, and two products, diesel and cut and polished diamonds, they account for 80%. I don't think there is much to worry. On diamond trade, we can talk about something because diesel has its own ways of going to other countries. On diamond trade, Israel is an important trading center. It's not a mining center. Israel doesn't mine diamonds. So in case war escalates, Israeli firms have the option to divert supplies from country of mining directly to India instead of routing it through Israel. Or India always has the option to buy from other countries, say Botswana, Namibia, South Africa. So I don't see much problem on this. Just increased payment, this insurance premium and increased shipping cost. And shipping cost, I mean, it's everything is traded through air route. So just that cost and increased payment premium for diamonds. Nothing else is to be there. However, if war escalates, we will reevaluate all these things. But right now, I don't see any impact on these.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Srivastava, for explaining this complicated situation so well. Hopefully, going forward, things would improve and there would be no further escalation of violence. On that note, let us bid our listeners goodbye, and hopefully we'll have you back with us soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amiti.